Hello, friends. You are listening to You Should Ask My Sister, the podcast about siblingship and friendship. I'm Stephanie Ertis, one of your hosts, and thank you for being here today. I'm going to let my sister introduce herself and today's topic.
I am Lissy Ertis, and we're really excited about the topic, but we want to reflect on the first couple of episodes that we put online. This is the first one we're recording since we put 1 and 2 online. And Steph and I have barely talked about it, but I'm overwhelmed with the response of all our friends and people we haven't talked to in years. Like, it was just really uplifting to hear that people listened to us. That was,
That was so exciting.
We always knew our aunts were going to listen, and gave them some shout outs, and they did. And we're super excited about that. They're super supportive. The nice thing about where we grew up in a small town, we have my mom's sisters, my dad's sisters, and my uncles. But both of my parents treated all their friends just like sisters and brothers too. So we have so many aunts. Like, we have our DNA aunts, but then so many. And I thought it was so cute. One of our best friends' moms texted me and she was like, "It's not just Aunt Pat listening." Like, it was, and just said some awesome stuff. And it's so nice to reconnect to some of those people and feel that support and love and having that communication back and forth. One of the coolest ones I saw was a past coworker of mine who is so warm and loving and just one of the best people I've ever met, said that she was going to plan a date with her sister to listen to it. And I thought that was so cute.
So fun.
Yeah. Little shout out to Marla. I thought that was like, and that's the whole concept of this. And another one was, we've been very mindful of saying siblingship. We're sisters. We don't have a brother, but we have some male cousins. And our youngest cousin, Dustin, reached out to me and said that as he was listening to this, it was just like him and Chad, which is his brother. So our two boy cousins should be man cousins? I don't know.
I don't know what the right term is.
They're our little guy cousins.
But they're full adults. They're adults like we are. So that is, I don't know what to call them.
They'll always be like 5 and 7. But it was so nice to hear from him and talk through, a brothership being just as important and just as loving as what we have, and it being a part of them, being a part of our family just meant a lot. Another one, which I think is what we love the most, is both of us moved out of state. So we don't get to spend a ton of time in the same room as our family and friends. And our cousin Michelle wrote, like, she felt like she was just in the room chatting with us, even though we're miles apart. And I thought that was just exactly what we want. That's
Absolutely.
so cool. And this isn't just us talking and you guys listening. We want to hear from everyone, which was so amazing that we did just right off the bat. And ending with the Michelle comment is a good segue because she's a fellow Sagittarius. I talk about Sagittarius a lot, and I looked it up real quick, like, because I actually don't really know what they are, besides me. So it's the season of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius tend to be optimistic, lovers of freedom, and I quote, hilarious. I don't know what's funny about that. It's written down in Google.
You're hilarious. It's true. You are hilarious. It's true.
Fair-minded, honest, intellectual, spontaneous, fun. I'm going to add to that. We love to celebrate. We love to celebrate our people, ourselves, moments in time. So this episode is going to be called Birthday Week because there's a certain birthday week or birthday coming up. And I've always been a big celebrator of my birthday, of my friends, of my family's birthday. I like to acknowledge that. I want to give a little bit of a disclaimer that we will talk about the art of celebrating. I've also realized that I tend to identify the things I do as art, which is
everything you absolutely do. It's like the art of cooking a turkey. I'm like, have you cooked a turkey before? But now it's art. It's art piece of art.
It's so arrogant and accurate at the same time.
It is arrogant and accurate. I would agree.
but we'll talk about the art of celebrating birthday week. I do want to say that with celebrating, it's not about this elaborate party, how much you can spend, how many people you can get there. To me, it's about taking a purposeful moment to recognize a person or an accomplishment or a moment of time, just setting aside that moment, however you want to do it, and celebrating, holding in the good and really focusing on it instead of always bringing in the negative. I've always thought that's really, really important.
I'm super excited to talk about this topic with you because I know very few people that celebrate the way you do. Like you get your oil changed and it's like, I gotta like celebrate that. Like it's so fantastic the way that you're always excited about accomplishments. And I think that we should all learn from that. And although you used the word arrogant earlier, I would just say like full of confidence about accomplishments and wanting to share that. And I think that's way more accurate.
I'm not
I
sure
love that.
why everyone wouldn't want to celebrate the art of getting the oil changed.
Any adulting thing you do, you're like, oh my gosh, I paid all of my bills online. It took 10 minutes. Now I'm going to take time to celebrate it. It's fantastic. And I think we should all really learn from that. But speaking of celebrations, I have to explain to listeners, especially as your older sister, how much you actually do love your birthday. So growing up with Melissa, she would start planning her birthday weeks, months in advance. Like oftentimes she would talk about her birthday at times that weren't even close to her birthday. It'd be someone else's birthday and she'd be like, well, for my birthday, this child loved her birthday. And a couple of years ago, 10 years ago now, I can't believe it. I was talking to my friend Mary, who was pregnant at the time, and she was due in December. And I was like, listen, you are going to have to throw some major birthday parties because this kid is going to love their birthday. And she was, I don't know that she believed me at first. I think she was like, yeah, every kid loves their birthday. And I was like, no. Sagittariuses love their birthday. They love all birthdays. He's going to love your birthday and he's going to love your husband's birthday. He's going to want to celebrate. So be ready. And every year his birthday is in a couple of days. Every year she's like, oh yeah, this kid loves his birthday like I've never seen. So it's very cool to be celebrating it with you. I do want to give a little warning. Because Melissa's birthday is in December, we are going to talk about Santa. So if you have any young ears that are listening, it might be a good time to put in some headphones so that we don't give away any Santa secrets. And with that, I want to ask you a question, Liz. You started out talking about birthday week because you and our cousin Michelle, both born just a couple of days apart at the beginning of December, celebrate a birthday week. What is a birthday week? Explain to people that don't know what a birthday week is.
Well, when your birthday is the pregame to Christmas, it's got to be a little bit bigger. But there's several things that I like to do to celebrate my birthday, and it's not usually packed into one day. It doesn't have to be on that certain day. I love small gatherings with my friends. I love outdoor and hiking, some kind of activity. I try to put all of that kind of into one and do different things that I really, really enjoy. Just celebrating being alive a little bit. There's been some hard times in our past, and if I can spend multiple days just taking a deep breath and remembering I'm here for another year and I'm excited about the year coming up, it's a really good time to do that.
Well, I have to say, as much as it sounds like your birthday is all about you, it's so not. It's
Mm-mm.
about like getting people together, everyone having a good time, like just, being around each other and celebrating not only your birthday and your year around the sun, but everyone else. So let's talk about some of your most memorable birthdays and celebrations.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point you brought up when we talk about some of the most memorable, because mine are when I was young. And my birthday has never been about me in conditioning from my mother, because again, she knew pretty early I loved my birthday, but she made it a point to make my birthday not about this big affair to celebrate me. It was to celebrate the people around me, all of them. She would even ask me, like, who do you want to invite? And I would tell her, and she would be like, no, you're going to invite everyone. And I was like, well, why'd you ask me? You're ruining my art of invite list. And she would be like, it's not about you. It's about the people around you. It's about how someone would feel if you left them out. There's so much that I disagreed with as a young kid that I grew up and just learned how important that is. So it has forever been about, like, the world doesn't this episode's going to sound like I feel like the world revolves around me. It doesn't. My world revolves because of the people around me. And I try to put that out there. And a couple examples that I will never forget. I have a December birthday, so that can be tough in Western Pennsylvania. And one of the best ones was, we live on a big hill and we had a ton of snow, which could totally ruin a birthday. And we had this giant sled riding party. It was, I'm sure, probably super cheap. Everyone brought their own gear. Everyone brought their own sleds. All their parents stayed. People were flying down the hill. So much fun. She made her homemade hot chocolate, which was amazing. I don't even know how she did it. Neither of us have that skill. But it was just, I remember sitting in the kitchen with all of my friends and all, you know how you come in like freezing and sweaty because you
at the
just
same time, you're like sweaty because you have this big snowsuit on, but you have like icicles, like all ice balls all stuck to your gloves.
Your hair's
gloves
frozen.
back then. Your hair's frozen after it gets out of your hat. On these ice balls on your gloves, because gloves weren't like water resistant then, they were like knit.
Nothing was water resistant. And like Grandma Elma made them for us. They weren't like, Burton gloves or anything. But I just remember all these clothes everywhere and just that feeling of like warmth. Like that's what I loved. It had nothing, I don't even remember any item I received that year. It was just that feeling of like love and togetherness. It was so much fun. I also
I wanted to talk about that party though, because you mentioned Chad earlier. And the thing I remember about that party specifically, we were so small then, you could fit multiple kids on one sled. And I remember you and Chad on this sled, and you and Chad just loved adventure. Like you were just inseparable as children, and you wanted to go as fast as you could. And you fly down this hill, which is all icy, and like you break through our parents and you end up like under this like, I don't even know what that was. It was like many bushes, like many like twigs and bushes. It was like underneath, and you two just laid down, and like no one, you were going so fast that like Dad and our uncles and stuff couldn't even stop you. It was, and I remember hearing you laugh, like you and Chad is stuck in this sled in the snow, laughing, just ringing through the air. It was so memorable. That was over 30 years ago, and I still so distinctly remember that.
Yeah, that bush looked like something from Harry Potter. We only laughed after we landed.
You were screaming, like headed straight for it, and it was so memorable. The sled riding party for your birthday was one of the best.
Another big one was being in December. I had a VIP guest at one of mine. And I remember having all of these people invited, but not really understanding what was the birthday. And so we were just running around the house being kids, and the front door opened, and my mom had arranged Santa Claus to come. I felt so, I don't even know, like shocked and awe. This was before Santa moved to Arizona, but his presence, his voice, his laugh, it was just a really great moment for every single person. That had nothing to do with just me. That had to do with my mom inviting so many people from the town in to be able to get this like unique experience with Santa. I just loved it.
Well, and what you didn't know, because it was a surprise for you that Santa was coming to your birthday, is how excited Mom was to like pull this off. Like, and she kept kind of whispering to people in the weeks ahead of time, like if they had younger siblings or older siblings, like make sure you stay because Santa is coming. And it was just like this adorable, like Santa's going to be there. Like Santa's coming to Lizzie's birthday. And it had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with like big guest. And we lived in a small town, so Santa wasn't always around. Like you'd have to go further to see him. So for Santa to be like in our town live was a huge deal back then. And it seemed like a million little arms and legs and bodies in the house. It was packed to the brim. I don't think more people have ever been in that house than there was when Santa came. So I remember Mom being so excited about it.
Oh, it was great. She was probably even more exciting. And the point that you said where she was like, she understands siblingship more than anyone, because she was like,
Absolutely.
bring your siblings, everyone stay, this is for everyone. And like, that's what birthday week's about, having fun, celebrating, holding on to
Well,
the good
and
moments.
what a memory. You were not even 10 years old when we had that. So literally that was like decades ago.
We don't
And
need to
the
talk about
picture
how many years ago it was. Like,
it was a couple years
you're
ago.
being
It
dramatic.
was a long time. It was a long time ago. And I'm sure some of the people that were at that party, if you're listening, send us messages about it, because we definitely have great memories of Santa coming to Lissy's party. And I think that Santa was around for a couple years after that, and then he did move to Arizona.
Yeah.
But so grateful for Santa coming that year.
So you also had really good parties.
Oh,
What
yeah.
are the ones you remember?
So my birthday is in March, which is a different type of year to celebrate. And March in Western Pennsylvania is still winter. It's still very, very much winter. So you might get a nice day here or there, but you can't guarantee it. So I had great parties. I had a surprise party when I was 13. I had a super party when I was 16. I think it was 16, at a roller skating rink. It was like a roller skating party. And I love doing things. So like that was so fun. Like I remember one year you had an ice skating party, I think. And so those parties where you got to do stuff, I always really liked that. And for my 16th birthday, my friend Tennille, her birthday is a couple of days after mine. And I remember us having this like kind of big to do for our 16th birthday. Mom got me that cake that looked like a driver's license. And so many people got this cake, but it was a big sheet cake, and actually like piped in like your name and your eye color and your birthday. And it looked like a Pennsylvania driver's license. And it was so cool that you had to give the baker a picture of you, and they like put it on the cake. It was like such a great, those driver's license cakes were so fun. And I was, because I'm so old, because I'm the oldest, I was one of like the first people that got that cake. There were other friends of ours that got it too, but it was really cool to get the driver's license cake. So I really like that. And then I've had a lot of fun birthdays as an adult. Like we went to New York City one year for my birthday. We had a huge blowout a couple years ago for one of my big birthdays. So yeah, I have so many good memories of birthdays, like lots of great celebrations.
Yeah, I have good memories of your birthdays too. I've done a couple surprise parties for you, even post childhood.
Oh yeah,
I like
true.
I like throwing surprises. I do not like to be surprised, because I like to plan. I like to have my say. So it was always fun, kind of surprising you.
Do you know what one of my best birthdays was, though, as an adult? It was the year we went to Kalahari. We went to Kalahari as an indoor water park, and our cousins had a cheerleading competition, and they invited Melissa and I, and it just happened to be around my birthday. And so Colby and Bella and Kylie threw me a little party like in our hotel suite. And it was a Justin Bieber party. And I was turning like 33. Like it was fantastic. And they like went all out, and we had a cake, and we had Justin Bieber decorations. And I knew he has a song with the word baby in it. And I knew that song. Like it was like baby, baby, baby something. I don't know. But it was so fun how excited they were.
Mhm.
They are older now, but at the time they were little kids, and it was so fun. And I wore this huge pin around the park that said like it was my birthday, and little kids would like come up to me and be like, "It's her birthday," and they'd say like "Happy birthday," and I was a total stranger, and I was like, man, kids love birthdays. We need to keep that like our whole life. So I had a great time at that birthday party as an adult. And thank you again to my cousins and my Aunt Sandy and Uncle Roger for throwing that party. It was so fun.
I remember buying that Justin Bieber stuff, and I was like, there is no better celebration than the Biebs on a 33-year-old's birthday.
Fantastic.
And of course we keep the celebration and the spirit of celebration on through your life. We always should. And I think part of that is traditions. And I think traditions are conversation line, especially this year, because there's things changing. But for me, there's always been some traditions I've had throughout any holiday. It could be, whatever holiday you have. One of the best traditions I know a friend does is every year on her birthday, she runs. And I think that is awesome. She has been a runner. She has been through a lot. And no matter what, on her November birthday, she laces up her shoes. And that's really inspired me to do sometime, it might not be the day because I think I'm hiking this year, but to do some sort of activity that my body is able to do no matter what year it is. Traditions I have for other holidays. I've decided that I want to see the sunrise every Thanksgiving. I don't do a traditional Thanksgiving anymore. And so that's the moment of peace where I feel the most thankful. I get to see this day begin. I get to reflect. It's a moment of quiet. For Christmas, Steph and I kept a tradition going where we get each other pajamas. Our mother did that to us before. Mm-hmm. It was mainly so we looked good in pictures for the next day, or matched or whatever. And so we exchanged pajamas the day before. And it is one of my favorite Christmas traditions because it's when everything's kind of calm and already done. And we just get to sit and talk with the two of us and our dad usually. And sometimes the pajamas are nice and something an adult would like. And most of the time they're not. And so we can have some fun with it. This year is the latter, the more fun. Steph, be prepared.
You always get me ridiculous pajamas. Last year you got me unicorn Christmas pajamas. They were fantastic. I actually just put them in the washer. I'd have them on right now. Yeah, they're ridiculous. But I have to say what's so funny is we wrote out a little outline and Melissa put Christmas pajamas. And I thought she meant like being in pajamas like all Christmas morning. And so I wrote next to it one of my favorite Christmas traditions, which is mimosas on Christmas morning. So I feel like you took like a really serious, sweet angle. And I was like, oh, I just like drinking mimosas on Christmas morning. That's my new favorite tradition.
I saw the note and started cracking up. I'm like, I'm just going to let her speak to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do you have traditions that you have created over the years?
So for my birthday, very opposite from what you just talked about, I eat cake. Like I love birthday cake. And so I try to make sure that there is a birthday cake somewhere in my life right around my birthday. And last year, and this is great. So I had a huge birthday cake in 2019. And I froze it, like what was left over. And I was like, oh, I'll just eat this all year. Well, 2019 or 2020, this year, was like 3 days after the pandemic. Like everything shuts down on Monday. 2 days later is my birthday. Everything's going wild because of the pandemic. People don't know what to do. Well, I froze my birthday cake. So I got out my birthday cake from 2019 and ate it in 2020. And I have to tell you, it was gross. I ate like one bite. It was not good. I don't recommend it. I know that's a tradition for like married couples. And I don't know why, because the cake was not good, but I was going to eat cake on my birthday, pandemic or not. And I did. I had like 2 bites and I was like, this is disgusting. I'm not eating any more of it. Christmas stuff, there's lots of like little things. We have a lot of great Christmas traditions. I think one of the ones for me personally is I like to put up a nativity scene. So I'm not a big decorator and I went 9 years without decorating a tree or putting up any decorations, but I always put up a nativity scene. I've added to that nativity scene. There are now Ewoks and 2 yoga figurines. Han Solo and a stormtrooper sometimes make their way in there. I also have like other things I've like added to the scenery with baby Jesus. So I put some other important things in there as well. So maybe we'll post a picture of my nativity, but that's probably one of my Christmas ones that I'm really attached to. But I want to talk a little bit too about, I think we do a really good job of celebrating some things, but I want to talk about expanding our celebration is what I would say. Yeah. I think that we do a really good job, and I'm going to get a little gendered here, especially with women. We do a good job celebrating babies and weddings, which we should. But I also think that we should celebrate more things. And we should do a better job of celebrating the accomplishments of everyone, but particularly, I speak from a woman's perspective. We should celebrate graduations, even if it doesn't even have to be like a college graduation. Like you graduated with your yoga teacher certificate. Here you go. Like, let's have a party. That's an accomplishment. That's hard work, new jobs, promotions, buying a house. And I want to point out that like not very long ago, women couldn't even get their own credit card. So for a woman to buy and finance her own home, that's a huge accomplishment that we should be celebrating. If a couple buys a home together or a guy, also big accomplishments we should be celebrating. But, some of the history of, oppression when it comes to women, or we'll talk more in other podcasts about things that are just harder for people depending on their intersectionality. And those things should be really celebrated when they're able to overcome some of that, or look at some obstacles and be like, no, I'm going to own my own house. Last chemo treatments, if you know someone that's sick, when they're done with chemo, let's celebrate that. Now, make sure that you celebrate in a way that they feel comfortable with, obviously. People might not be ready for a party the day after their last chemo treatment, but let's send cards or flowers or be excited for those things that people are really accomplishing. Anything you'd add to that list, Liz?
Promotion is a big one for me. Career is big for me. I've had several different promotions and twists and turns in my career, and all of them were hard. Like, I worked very, very hard to get there. Graduation, as you said, has been a focal point for us to celebrate. We've graduated several times. One of us with more honors than the other. That's fine. But we both have the certificate.
One of us with a graduation gown that was ironed, and one of us who did not iron their graduation gown.
Oh, I got in so much trouble.
I know, Mom was so mad. She's so mad at you.
Yeah. But we have younger cousins in our family, and them graduating, and we know how hard school is. We know how hard your 20s are and your teens, and that stuff is extremely important. I love that you said the house, because I bought a house super young. It is very stressful. It's just so big. And I've had at least one friend buy a house this year. She had just moved to Georgia. She was so excited about it. It's a beautiful house. I went over a couple times. We had a party for her. Like, I love celebrating those accomplishments for someone. They worked really, really hard for it, and it should be acknowledged.
Yeah. And sometimes it's something that you just know someone's working really hard for. One of the things that my friends celebrated for me a couple years ago, I was in a bad car accident 3 years ago, and I had to buy a brand new car. And it was incredibly challenging. Thank goodness I recovered from my injuries. But they showed up with this beautiful basket of new car stuff. And I was not talking about buying a new car because it was so stressful for me. And just that acknowledgement of hey, and I loved my old car, I sinfully loved that old car. The only thing that was separating me from that Jeep Compass was probably an accident. It was probably going to have to be totaled before I was going to let it leave my life. And I was really mourning that loss, as silly as it may sound. And they just showed up, and they printed out a picture of my new car and put it in a card. And it was really helped me understand and put into kind of focus that this was a new beginning and something to be celebrated and excited about. So I was really thankful for them for doing that.
Yeah. And I think to sum up the art of celebration, show up for your people. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
I mean, Steph wasn't talking about how stressful, besides to me, about the car, but you not talking about it was almost like an elephant in the room. Everyone knew how much that weighed on you, and your people showed up. They could have done a basket. They could have sent you a text and said, I know this was really hard. I'm proud of you. Show up for your people.
Yeah, it was great. It was a point where buying a new car is not something that people would normally celebrate, I don't think, but it was something I really needed, and they knew that. So thank you to my people. That was so great of you. So when we're talking about celebrations, I think we can't not talk about what to do when celebrations are disrupted. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're actually right in the middle of, during this podcast, the holiday season of 2020. So what's your advice, tips, anything, Liz, that you would recommend for when a celebration is disrupted?
So we've had a lot. We had constant traditions when we were younger, and they were all disrupted in a short amount of time, and that really can rock someone's world. And through the growth of losing some things, I always go back to what's important. What am I celebrating? And is this a moment in time, or is this an adjustment and growth I need to make? I made the decision that I don't do a traditional Thanksgiving anymore. It's just too hard for me. But every sunrise of Thanksgiving, I'm there, I'm thankful, I'm present. So I do Thanksgiving my way. And I think that's really important to get back to, especially this year. There's going to be a lot of disruption, but this is when we can really internally focus on the people around us. Like, what matters? What can I do that's safe? What can I do to really celebrate the season and what really matters? Don't focus on what we're losing. What are we gaining?
Great. Absolutely. I want to add to that too, something that I think people know, but really need to hear over and over. All of the emotions you're having about this holiday season are okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are very, very angry, it's okay to be angry. If you're anxious, if you're sad, if you're relieved that you don't have to do all the running around, all of those things are okay. And just feel those emotions and be with them and process them. And it's going to be a roller coaster. There's going to be some times where you're like, this is really great. And I'm making it through. And I'm really happy that I'm doing this new thing. And there are other times where you may just want to sit on the couch and watch Die Hard and eat chocolate chips out of the bag because you're so upset.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's what I do when I'm upset for holiday stuff. But I want people to understand all of those emotions are okay. And that everything is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Like this holiday season is temporary. It's going to come and go regardless of what we do. And one of the things I've really been thinking about, and this kind of goes back to what you were saying, Melissa, is people are going to talk about the holiday season of 2020 for years and decades. Like we're going to talk about this time because it's such a shared experience. So I start to think about like what I want that narrative to be. When we're together next year, how do I want to describe what I'm doing now? Like, what do I want to do that I can kind of, anchor now and talk about in the future? Children are going to ask about it. Children that are not yet born yet or are alive now but are too young to remember, we're going to talk about this. So to think about the narrative that you want to create around it, I think can be helpful. But also want to acknowledge like it's okay to be upset and
Mm-hmm.
angry, and there's loss here. And for some folks, it's just, this is okay. This is just, a different way of doing things for a year. But some people are losing some really important things. If this was your first holiday season with a new grandchild, or the first time that your partner was going to be able to come home for the holidays, and you're losing all of that, that's okay to be upset about that. But it's also okay to think about how we want to frame this for ourselves. So to kind of live in that duality of like, this is different and I'm upset, but also this is an opportunity to do things differently and look at things differently and create some magic in a different way and really kind of connect back to those people. I really loved how you talked about, let's make it about, celebrating with our friends and family, even if we can't be close to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's some good ways to think about it.
We both talk often, and some of this is so interesting, especially because we'll have it recorded. But when I talk to my friends or family about grief and loss, I always say it's okay to feel what you're feeling. Just don't stay there. Feel what you're feeling, acknowledge it, understand why you're feeling this, and then figure out your path forward. So it's 100%, exactly what you said, it's 100% to feel loss, but don't stay there. Make this one a celebration and one to remember. That isn't your control.
And if you want to eat chocolate chips out of the bag instead of making the cookies, it's okay. I do it all the time. I do it all the time.
We don't have a lot of rules. We'll be in crazy pajamas drinking mimosas on Christmas morning because we want to.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's the narrative. That's our 2020 narrative, but it was also our 2019, 2018, 2017, and 2016 narrative. So not a lot changing with that tradition right there, but
so we do get to keep some traditions.
Yeah. Mimosas on Christmas morning. I'm definitely keeping that. And you're all welcome now to have that. All of our listeners are welcome to adopt that if you would like.
We'll be like, that's what we do. We're going to be on our couch for pajamas. We can set up a Zoom link if anyone wants to have mimosas with us.
Yeah. We also watch a lot of History Channel and some John Wayne too. Those are my dad's traditions. I'm sure those will stay the same.
It's always very loud.
Yeah, it'll be good times. I'm looking forward to it.
So with all of the comments that we got, this is called Ask My Sister, and we've asked each other a ton of questions, this one. But we received a question. I thought it was funny. I actually received this through Facebook and a direct call. And Leah had asked what I want for my birthday. So my birthday is in a little less than 2 weeks. I'm awful to buy for. mainly because my birthday is like right after Black Friday. I already bought myself stuff today. Sorry, Steph. And then,
Gosh, why do you always do that? Why do you buy yourself stuff a week before your birthday? It drives me crazy.
But it's not even just a week before my birthday. I bought myself ridiculous stuff all year to get through quarantine.
It's true.
Proud owner of a hoverboard. Like I just kind of do that as a way of celebrating some accomplishments I've had. And so
what was the accomplishment you were celebrating when you bought yourself a hoverboard?
I stayed indoors for the time I was supposed to.
You bought a mask and a hoverboard.
I can celebrate however I want.
It's true. It's fine.
So I really thought about this question because it really isn't about stuff this year in general for anyone. Everyone's in a different situation. But when we went through our first podcast, and it probably seemed a little over the top, our favorite things was everything we like to buy. But our first one was really our favorite things about each other. And so I'm merging those two concepts and I'm creating something I would love for my birthday. And that is for every single listener to send out favorite things you have about your people, directly to your people. It gave me so much energy to hear some things that Steph said about me. We literally talk all the time. I know what she thinks about me. And it always gives me energy, but her talking about being positive and buoyant, I've worked so hard on some of that stuff and I didn't really know it was being recognized. And I think that's so common in everyone. So this entire month, people are going to be stressed. They're going to feel lost. They're going to be just overworked and it's a lot. And so I think it would be really nice for everyone if you just take a moment, maybe while you're doing your Christmas cards or before you're baking your cookies, and send a message or make a phone call. It could be Facebook, Snapchat, anything. And let your people know 3 things that are your favorite things about them. I would love that. And Steph and I are going to do this too, because I think it's really important. But the most important part about this is if someone sends you their favorite things about you, you have to listen. We are so critical of ourselves and we look through our own lens. And we're going to be really hard on ourselves in the next month. It's stressful. And so when someone says these complimentary things about you and what they see in you, please listen and absorb that. And that would be the absolute best birthday present I could ever have for 2020.
I'm super glad I spent all morning on Etsy buying your other presents when I could have just been telling people my favorite things about them. Great. I wish we had done this podcast yesterday. Then I wouldn't have had to worry about all those stressful things I'm going to have to wrap up for you. I'm just kidding. I think this is excellent. So Melissa just gave our listeners some homework, which is really surprising since she does not like homework. But I think this is a great assignment. So these are my favorite things about you assignment. Share with us. We'd love to hear how this goes for you all. And we hope that we start some good holiday cheer this way. I'm super excited about it. I'm like already thinking about my favorite things about people and how I'm gonna surprise them.
I'm so bad at calling. So expect a text or a Snapchat or something a little bit more text related. But yeah, I plan to sit down around my birthday week and do the exact same thing.
Great. I'm excited about it. So we are at the end of our celebration podcast. So we wish for all of you a peaceful and, joy-filled celebrating for this holiday season, into your birthdays, into next year, into 2021. So thank you for being here. I want to especially thank our aunts. I was so excited that our aunts were listening. Those comments were great. I was so thankful for, Melissa said, the aunts that are our parents, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, but also all of these folks that we grew up with. So hello to all of you. Thank you so much for listening. Aunt Pat was our first comment. I was
she was quick.
And right. Yeah, she was quick.
And she introduced herself too in the second comment. She was like, by the way, this is Aunt Pat.
We love it. We are so lucky to have such supportive, such supportive family members. And when Melissa and I had the idea to start this podcast, it was literally, we were like, who's going to listen? And she was like, Aunt Pat will listen. And we were like, yeah, Aunt Terry and Aunt Sandy will probably listen too. And if they're the only 3 people that listen, we will continue to do the podcast.
We were okay.
Like the secret is it's about them too.
It was a pleasant, an enormously pleasant surprise to see the comments and the people that have listened. And we hope this is a bright spot. I don't know what cadence we're going to send this out. Depends on how many episodes we can get done. But we hope that this is a bright spot in the weeks that we send out. We love to hear from you. We love your comments. We're going to keep putting different content out depending on the topics that we covered in the first episodes. We have a lot. We're going to have some guest speakers.
Yeah, guests.
Yeah, we've got a lot to cover. So we're excited about this journey. And you can follow us now at a YouTube channel. You Should Ask My Sister. You can subscribe. It was funny that a lot of people noticed that we put episode 1 and 2 up at the same time, and I didn't send out the 2. So everyone's like, I'm ready for 3. We're recording 3 right now. Yeah, so it was really encouraging for us to continue to do this because we love talking to each other, but weren't exactly sure who would listen. And so this thing's going to keep going. If you want to ask us questions, you can reply to any of the posts that we have out on social media. You can direct message us through Instagram. Mine is Lissie, LISSIE _Erdice, ERDICE. Steph's is woman and the _ in the wild. I've actually got texts, calls, Snapchats, Facebook messages. So you really know how to get a hold of us. You can comment on the YouTube channel. We really, really love to hear from you. This isn't a one-way thing. Like we said at the beginning, we want to incorporate all of you in the context of the podcast.
This has been You Should Ask My Sister with your hosts, Stephanie and Melissa Erdice. Thank you for listening.